they're alive. They're human beings.
Are they? Are they, Charlie? Are they human or are they fat, wheezing animals?
Hey, ladies and gents. For the film lovers. And today we're talking about the Alfred Hitchcock classic, Shadow of a Doubt. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Just as a classic movie. It's about... Actually, I don't know how you explain the story of it. I guess it's just a teenager who's down and out seeks her Uncle Charlie to try to bring her spirits back up and the family's spirits back up. And
yeah.
I don't know how else you explain it. That's kind of it.
Yeah, she's very attached to her uncle.
Yeah, she even says I'm a psychic.
Almost psychic, yeah. Right.
At one point, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So, it's a great movie. Was made early 40s. Just
early 40s?
Yeah, I think it was like 41 or something.
Okay. During the war then, yeah.
Maybe not.
I think it was during the war, probably.
Yeah, it was starring Joseph Cotton, Teresa Wright, Hume Cronin, actually. I don't know if you know him.
Okay.
You ever see Batteries Not Included?
Yeah.
He's in that. Hume Cronin plays the friend, the kind of goofy friend.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Who, comes over and they talk about murder.
Yeah, okay. And Barry's Not Included, he plays the main older...
I think the older guy, yeah, because at that point... In fact, if I'm correct, his real life wife, I think, also plays his wife in the movie, Jessica Tandy.
Barry's Not Included.
Who also worked with Hitchcock in The Birds. She was the woman she's the mother.
The mother
of the son.
Oh, okay.
Or, the mother of the male lead in The Birds.
In The Birds.
She's the one who discovers the guy with the eyes, missing the eyes and all that. Hume Cronin also was in Lifeboat, which I know you haven't seen yet, but it's another Hitchcock movie that's kind of a classic as well. It's really good. Anyway, so yeah, Shadow of a Doubt. I mean, it's like I said, it's probably my top 5 favorite Hitchcocks of all time. Just has such a good concept and premise. I love the idea of, and Hitchcock also loved this idea, but I also love it, bringing like evil to this like wholesome small town life that's so innocent and sweet and nice. Yeah. And I don't know, it's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
And I think I showed you this movie years ago. We watched it at my house, and I think you said you liked it.
Oh yeah.
So what's your thoughts on it?
Oh well, first off, I would like to ask you, what was the process of the writing? Who wrote this story? Was it based off a novel?
No.
Was it based off an original story?
I think it's an original story.
Okay, but not Alfred Hitchcock's original story?
I think ultimately it came down to written by Thornton Wilder.
Okay.
Who's an author, not an author, a script writer. I think he's pretty famous. I think he wrote it. I wish I could remember the movie he wrote before this, but he had a very good American sensibility about American small life. Small town. At this point, Hitchcock had just come to America, and he's British. I mean, he's from the UK, so he doesn't really have a sense of the USA, suburban lifestyle.
Yes.
As much as this guy did.
Yeah.
But Hitchcock was he almost never got writing credit, but he always was really involved with the
contributing
writing.
to some degree or another.
No, he always would. And if he didn't like something, he'd tell them don't take it out,
Yeah.
or just, guide them.
Yeah.
Or some of his movies are based around one scene, like a premise. Like North by Northwest was all based around crop duster scene.
Oh, okay.
That Hitchcock came up with.
Yeah.
So then it was like, I'm going to hire a writer to construct a story around that idea.
Yeah.
And so that became North by Northwest.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's the idea, and I think the idea came from the concept of Hitchcock saying, of what I just said, bringing evil to something that's nice and sweet and innocent kind of thing.
Yes.
The thing that I always liked about this movie, which Hitchcock doesn't do a lot, there's an interesting thing where there's a little bit of it social commentary, which Hitchcock doesn't always do social commentary that much. Of just, we're talking about the suburban lifestyle and how boring, how mundane, and how it can become the same thing every day, all the time, just like a routine. It never changes.
Right.
She even says it flat out in the very beginning. She's in the bed, laying on the bed, depressed young Charlie, saying that it's the same thing every day.
Okay, I kind of forgot that.
Yeah, it's the opening scene when we first meet young Charlie.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a motif that's sort of hidden, sort of not, that there's the doubling effect, that they mirror each other, Uncle Charlie and young Charlie. We meet Uncle Charlie in bed, laying down. We meet young Charlie laying down in bed, almost in the same position.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, there's a correlation there. There's a lot of things where they kind of mirror each other's actions.
Yeah.
But yeah, she says it flat out in her dialogue, just the idea of suburban lifestyle. Being boring. Being boring, being the same thing.
So tame.
Tame and just being the same thing over and over.
Right.
Work all day, come home, cook, clean, go to bed, repeat, that type of thing.
And there's a thing
Interesting.
And I would say there's a thing with that too, pointedly with the friend who, what's his name, the actor? Friend coming over. He comes over.
Yeah.
And they, what do they talk about, gossip? Or they talk about gossip, right? About...
they talk about murder.
Murder and stuff.
They usually talk about like a fake crime that they read. Like Sherlock Holmes they talk about and stuff. And then they start to do like almost joking around about how they would kill each other and like what the perfect murder would be.
Right.
Leaving no clues behind.
And it's definitely an upset of the safe suburban American 50s
it's done tongue
or 40s.
It is odd. I mean, it is kind of bizarre. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is bizarre. It's almost black.
It's black humor.
Almost say, it's black. Yeah.
Sure.
Because, I mean, I think us as the audience are supposed to take that as, it's a little weird.
It is,
that you would think that, think so humorously about murder and, and such.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, but other than that, writing-wise, I don't know much about it. I just know Hitchcock had a lot of hand in writing a lot of his scripts. So he didn't write it. He'd hire a writer. Yeah. And they'd write a draft, and he'd go, I don't like this part, I don't like this, like take that out, or add this, or, you know what I mean? Yeah. He would guide it, or add ideas or concepts. His wife also had a lot to do with it, and I think at this point in his career, she was still getting credited, not as a writer, I think continuity they named her. I don't really know what that means.
I know she was continuity with Psycho.
She was, yeah. She worked a lot with him uncredited, but I think at this point she was still credited. I don't know why it's called continuity. I guess they make sure there's not like goofs. But she had a lot of. She would help through Hitchcock. She would, offer ideas, or he would always give her the scripts and say, "What do you think? What do we do?" Would always go to her for advice. So I'm sure he did that as well for this. So. What did you think of this movie? You liked it?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, okay.
It's one of my favorite Hitchcock movies for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up there with Vertigo. I don't think it's... I mean, it's deep. I would say
it's pretty deep.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's a pretty deep movie
Yeah.
for Hitchcock.
Yeah, sure.
It operates more than just being a thriller.
Oh yeah,
It has
Sure.
more subtext to it.
There's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the hidden. There's sort of subtext of. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but kind of like an incestuous thing between Uncle Charlie and young Charlie.
Sure.
And in the original
Sure.
script, it was more prevalent, actually. Like, it was actually going to be not something said, but there were going to be more signs of it. And Hitchcock decided to pull back that and make it more of just a very little hidden stuff.
Well, how overt was it supposed to be originally?
I
mean,
I don't think anything like shown, but maybe stuff that was said was a little more obvious.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The scene that always comes to my mind regarding that is the kitchen scene when it's them two. And that scene always made me just a tad uncomfortable. Like, it's just like too close for relatives. He's putting a ring on her finger, and it's just very weird. And that, she says, "Oh, we're like twins," and we, it's a little weird. That's the scene that always comes to mind. But they did say in the final draft, it's kind of more of a motif, which it's more like very sprinkled out throughout.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I mean, what stands out to me about this movie, besides the subtext that is, I would say, to some degree, atypical of Hitchcock,
Mhm.
to some degree,
Mhm.
is just the two leads.
yeah.
What's the female lead again?
Well, Teresa Wright is her name.
Teresa Wright.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's great.
Oh,
I think
she's really good.
perfect,
She's perfect,
as
yeah.
being this innocent, just being innocent. I think she's great.
She does a really good job.
Yeah, and believing in her uncle.
Yes.
And I think Joseph Cotton is fantastic in being very complicated.
Yes.
He's a very complicated character. There's the famous dinner table scene where he basically espouses his views on widowers, or widows,
Widows, yeah.
and almost like a waste of space that they are in his viewpoint.
That's what he's known for
Basically.
killing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to.
It's a very...
But at the same time, he's complicated because he is definitely emotionally attached to Charlie.
or young Charlie. Yeah.
Young Charlie.
Yeah, I know.
He's complicated. He's not just a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah, there's something weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't quite. And what's great is because in the '40s, this was done a lot, like the mustache twirling villains. Whatever, the maniacal laugh.
Right.
This guy was a real person.
Yes.
It wasn't so.
Yes.
There was a lot of gray. It wasn't all black.
There
and
was a
white.
lot of gray, for sure.
And along with the other social commentary stuff, what's it called? I was saying that he also, some of the stuff he says, Uncle Charlie, Uncle Charlie, there's a couple speeches that he kind of makes throughout the film that kind of go along with what I was saying about the social commentary. You know what I mean? Like there's a scene where he chases after young Charlie, and he brings her into a bar.
You go through your ordinary little day, and at night you sleep your untroubled, ordinary little sleep filled with peaceful, stupid dreams. And I brought you nightmares.
Yes.
And, talks about how, everybody in this town, they're like sleepwalkers.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
if you rip off the fronts of houses, you'd find swine, it's just interesting, yeah.
You live in a dream. You're a sleepwalker, blind. How do you know what the world is like? Do you know the world is a foul sty? Do you know if you ripped the fronts off houses, you'd find swine?
Consumers. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
he's basically critical of consumers.
Yeah.
And
And just that, you know, and then he just says the world's a hell. The world's hell. What's the matter? You know, who cares what happens in it? That's pretty much what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's little moments that always stuck out to me in the movie. The bank scene, where he kind of embarrasses the father, you know what I'm talking about, when they go to the bank.
I don't know.
When he first comes to town the next day,
yeah,
he says, "Oh, I think I'm going to bring a little money and, you know, like open an account." And so he goes to Joe's bank. That's his name, the character.
Yeah.
And they're talking about money, and he's talking about how I don't know, like thousands of dollars is a joke to me. You know, Joseph Cotton says this.
Okay.
And what did he say? I don't know. He just says, like, the whole world's a joke to me. It doesn't matter.
$40,000 is no joke. Not to him, I bet. It's a joke to me. The whole world's a joke to me.
Just little lines like that, or that could be, I guess, classified as a throwaway line, but
well, I mean,
I like
he's
them.
definitely overall, he's definitely a misanthropic character.
Yes, yeah.
Misanthropic as in not believing in people.
Yeah.
In society, in people.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe in people.
Yeah.
At all.
Like you said, though, he does have a weird connection to Charlie.
He does.
Throughout the whole film.
He does. That's what makes him complicated.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Even at the point in the film when he knows that she knows
yes.
that he's a killer,
yes.
he still, like, says, but we're twins. We, you know, kind of like, whatever. Like,
yeah, he tries to
yeah.
Bring her to his side.
Yes,
and
exactly.
He tries to still work with her.
Yes.
In a way, it's complicated.
Yeah, and Hitchcock often said this was his favorite film of his, of his own. And I think that's what you hit on to something too. The thing that makes this film work is casting is perfect. Almost everybody's perfect.
Yes.
They just fit their character.
Yes.
Very well.
Yeah.
Even the mother. The interesting thing was, you know how young Charlie and the detective, there's kind of like a thing between them.
Yeah.
But nothing ever happens really romantically.
No.
Originally, there was supposed to be. And the actress who played the mother, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Went to Alfred Hitchcock and said, you know, I just don't think for this movie this makes sense. Like, why would this girl all of a sudden become romantically interested in this detective? She's dealing with this whole thing with her uncle being a killer and stuff. It just didn't seem realistic. And Hitchcock actually thought, you know, you're right. Why don't you go home and write something? Rewrite the scene. She actually went home, rewrote the scene where it's the scene where they're in the shed, remember? And she said, I like you a lot, but I think I just want to be friends. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think I just want to...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You know, I just want to be friends. And originally, like I said, that was written as a romantic, like, lead kind of... Like a normal thing in the 40s where almost every male and female lead would end up having a romantic relationship.
Right.
So that really helps it. I'm glad they didn't go that route. That would have, I think, hurt it a little bit for me. So I'm actually glad that the actress rewrote it. I just thought that was interesting that the actress rewrote it. It had nothing to do with the scene.
Yeah.
The mother had nothing to do with that scene. So. Yeah,
I would say this movie, I'm a little iffy sometimes with movies from the 40s and 50s.
The acting can get,
The acting can get in the way of a good movie for me as far as that period goes.
It's that period of time where it's just on the cusp of some people trying to be real and then some people still being stagey. Some people being over the top.
Yes.
And you either get a mixture or you get them all on the same page or they're all over the top. Yeah, so it's pretty much...
I mean, perfect example would be Streetcar Named Desire.
I never saw that. But
the movie has Marlon Brando being a real person, as far as I'm concerned. Like, being a real person. Acting real, acting normal.
Yeah.
And then you have, what's her name? Oh my gosh, from Gone with the Wind. I can't remember the actress's name, but she's very stagey, and that's a perfect example of a movie where it's during that time period,
a transition period where people
period, yes,
where actors were starting to go method and starting to go realistic instead of over the top.
Right.
So what were you going to say about that in regards to?
I would just say that this movie really handles its characters in a complicated way.
Yeah.
And I think it really holds up.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I don't think it aged badly.
No, I don't think so either. All the actors and actresses do a pretty good job. I mean,
of being real.
Yeah, there's not really a moment I can think of where I cringe at like it's so over the top.
Yeah, no,
everybody's pretty under control.
Yes, yes,
and realistic.
I think the one scene for me that always kind of stood out too was it's kind of weirdly tense when the one cop who's undercover takes a picture of Joseph Cotton's character.
Yeah.
It
works well.
It's so effective.
Mr. Son has been taking pictures of my room.
My sister told me to remind you something about eggs in a cake. I don't like to be photographed. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you for the film.
Yeah, because it's just it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
So it's it's just when he says I'm gonna have to ask you for the film back.
I know.
And young Charlie's like, this is really weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He said, I think my niece told you I don't like the pictures being taken.
Yeah.
It's just very weird. You're right, but it works really well.
Yeah, it's an effective scene.
Yeah, it's very
sure.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
One thing that's always, because I've seen this movie a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like it's one of the Hitchcock films for me. Even as a kid, when I would watch it, I could watch it all the way through. I always liked it. I liked the structure of it. Like I said, the idea of bringing this guy, who at first it's weird. At first it's like positive, and then it becomes very negative.
Yes.
I also liked how then like towards the middle or the second to third act, somewhere in there, when Charlie finds out the little cat and mouse game that goes on between Uncle Charlie and young Charlie, he tries to kill her several times. He tries to lock her into the shed with the car running.
Yes.
He tries to trip her over the steps.
Yeah.
And all that was so interesting to me. I don't know why, it just kept my attention. But one thing I was going to say that I don't think really gets talked about that much, but they sort of pinpoint that his psychosis started from an accident he had when he was 3 years old.
He fractured his skull, and he was laid up so long. And then, when he was getting well, there was no holding him. And it was just as though all the rest he had was, well, too much for him, and he had to get into mischief to blow off steam.
The mother is talking about it, that I can't remember if it was an accident on his bike or he fell and had to go to the hospital for several days. And they said once he came back, he was different. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah, it's early in the film after sort of early. She just
when he shows up?
Yeah, it's pretty much like the morning after he shows up. He's in bed having breakfast, and it's when that whole picture kind of idea comes up because she says, "Oh, I have a picture of you," and he's like, "I didn't think I had, there's no pictures of me, And it's a little picture, and it was like taken days before this accident. And it said, yeah, he was, totally different after the accident and stuff. It's just interesting. I think they're almost drawing a correlation between this accident and him changing, possibly to be whatever, the killer that he ends up being.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, and then the one scene that always, I don't even know if you'll remember, because it's such a nothing kind of scene, but I always liked it because it's just really subtle. It's after she gets back from church, she has this white dress on, and Charlie's walking around the yard with a cigar, and
Joseph Cotton.
Joseph Cotton. What did I say?
You said Charlie.
Well, Uncle Charlie.
Yeah, Uncle Charlie.
Yeah,
but,
and
okay.
They don't say anything to each other. It's just they stare at each other.
I've kind of forgotten about that scene.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I forgot about it.
But it's It's
Yeah.
really an interesting scene because it's such a nothing scene, but it's so interesting. She gets back from church. She's talking to the detective, and it's the part where, like, they think they got the guy. Remember, there's a part where there's another suspect that they're tailing as well.
Yeah.
They're not sure. Now young Charlie knows it's her uncle. They don't know it for sure. There's another suspect.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like at that point, like, he's relieved, like Uncle Charlie's relieved, like, oh, they think it's the other guy and they're going to arrest him or something. And he goes, okay, I guess I'll get ready for dinner. And he starts walking up the steps, and then he stops and turns around, and Uncle Charlie's just, young Charlie's at the bottom, and she just looks like this young, innocent girl with her, like, white hat and her white dress from church, and they just stare at each other at the stairs. And then it fades to black. It's just an interesting scene.
I totally forgot that scene. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's just a little scene, but it
Yeah.
just is it's like, yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know why.
Yeah.
The other thing I always think of is, and it's just such a great, and it's so well shot by Hitchcock, is when she comes down and after his speech at the women's club, Uncle Charlie, they get back because young Charlie's going to stay home after, you know, she almost died from the carbon monoxide.
Yeah,
or whatever. And she walks down the steps with the ring from one of the victims, remember?
Yes.
That is such a good scene. It's just giving me chills as I talk about it. She's walking down the steps and Hitchcock pans and zooms into the ring, and it's just such a good shot and such a cool scene. And at that point, Uncle Charlie goes, that's when he makes the speech, like, I think I have to be leaving.
Ah, here she is. Now for my toast.
Remember? Like, I'm going to be leaving. Do you remember that?
Not really, dude.
Oh, it's such a good scene.
I'm sorry.
No, it's alright. I love
I'll
that
have to
scene.
watch it.
You should watch it again. It's so good.
I've watched it 2 or 3 times. I can't remember.
Really? Okay, I figured
Yeah.
that's a big scene. That's like when he finally goes, I should get out of here. And
I have an
she starts
idea,
crying.
but I can't remember specifically.
And then the daughter starts crying. I mean, not the daughter. The mother
Yeah.
starts crying.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think of the ending?
Oh, I think it's classic Hitchcock.
Mhm.
I mean, very suspenseful, very effective,
Yeah.
very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, for sure. Yeah.
What do you think of the very, very end?
Very, very end.
After that?
You might have to remind me a little bit, dude. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. After the very, very end, it's very short. It may be a minute. Her and the detective are outside of the church. I'm guessing a funeral service is being held for her uncle. And they're talking about what kind of man he was.
Okay.
You don't remember that?
No.
Okay.
No, I feel
Shit,
so
dude.
bad. I feel so bad. I'm not.
Did you see this movie?
Yeah,
I'm
I
kidding,
did,
I'm
dude.
kidding.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I
I've
have
seen
it on Blu-ray. I gotta watch it again.
Okay. No, I was curious what you thought about that little extra, I guess you call it like an epilogue.
Well, what do they say?
So I can't. I mean, it's just they just kind of say he hated the world and he was a dark guy, and I don't know. They just say like just kind of some stuff. It's just kind of interesting, and that's just how it ends.
Not typical, I would say, of a movie of that
No.
time period.
To be honest, though, Hitchcock probably would have had him just leave the train, and that would have how it would have been kind of ended.
Leave.
Like just get away with it.
Okay,
Hays Code,
okay.
production code
Yes.
of the time.
He had to
no
die.
criminal could get
I know.
away with
He
anything.
had
So
to-
he either had to be arrested or
Right.
die. So
Yeah.
he chose for the dying ending, which is lame. But I'm saying if Hitchcock had his way, I don't know this for sure, I'm just saying, he probably would have just had him get on the train and leave. Maybe an ending dialogue scene between Charlie and him, but that's about it.
Why was young Charlie on the train in the first place?
Oh, the kids are on the train just like looking at the train real quick and like, they're just like getting his luggage on the train. Remember?
Yeah.
Well, he holds her there as the train starts moving. She tries to get off. Remember?
Yes.
Like
yes.
the train start. We're gonna leave the kids. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite Hitchcock movies.
Sure.
For sure, though.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite.
Up there with Vertigo, Psycho. I know it's typical, but up there with Vertigo and Psycho.
I think Psycho is one of the movies. I think that deserves a lot of its praise.
I think so too.
It's not overrated, is what I'm
I don't
getting
think it's
at.
overrated.
You know what I'm
either.
saying? It's not
No.
like they overhype it.
No.
It really is a classic horror.
I mean, it's
movie.
fantastic that it kills the lead halfway through the movie.
Oh, I know. That's unbelievable.
It's so unbelievable.
We're gonna have to do another video.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll have to. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to do this movie because it's, like I said, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely one of my favorite Hitchcocks. Probably my top 3. I grew up watching this movie. I grew up watching Hitchcock all the time. And this was always, even as a kid, some of the Hitchcock movies would bore me a little bit. It wasn't until I got older that I would appreciate them.
Yeah, sure.
Like Vertigo would bore me as a kid.
Yeah, okay.
But until I got older, I'd appreciate it more.
Yeah.
In fact, I love it now. It's one of my favorites. But Shadow of a Doubt even interested me as a kid. I liked it. So yeah, it's always one of my favorite movies. It's a great thriller, psychological thriller. I guess you classify it as that. Character study.
Sure.
Whatever. So, is that pretty much it?
Yeah, one of Hitchcock's best.
How's the Blu-ray? Curious.
Oh, it's good.
The transfer.
Yeah, transfer is perfect.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I have it on DVD and stuff, but I don't have it on Blu-ray. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's special features heavy.
No,
I mean, as far as the transfer goes,
it's the same special features as the DVD.
Yeah, but as special, I mean, just as the transfer goes, it's perfect.
Oh,
it's
cool.
as best as you can imagine.
Oh, cool! I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's it. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Please like and subscribe.
Please.
Please.
Thank you.
We're begging at this point.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. See ye.